Welcome to this explainer on early childhood social emotional development. I am so excited to dive into this topic with you today. We're going to take the foundational frameworks of the Alabama Standards for Early Learning and Development, the ASELDs, and we're going to translate them into a highly practical, ready-to-use toolkit for your classroom. Honestly, if you've ever found yourself wondering how to foster genuine, lasting connections in your early childhood environment, well, you are in exactly the right place.
There's this really beautiful saying out there. Children learn color, lines, and shapes through their eyes, but they learn love, trust, and safety through their relationships. I just love that because it brilliantly captures our entire philosophical anchor for today. It reminds us of a fundamental truth. Before a kid can successfully connect with a peer, or say negotiate over a toy, or build a block tower together, they absolutely must feel securely tethered to an adult first. That relational safety, it's literally the prerequisite for all the other social and academic learning that follows.
So here is our professional development roadmap for today. We'll start with the foundations of attachment, move into building a secure adult base, explore the social play spectrum, and finally wrap up in the friendship engineering lab.
All right, let's jump right into Part 1, Foundations of Attachment, where we'll establish the physiological baseline.
Okay, we really need to understand the core philosophy here, which is that early childhood learning happens entirely through relationships. Think of the secure adult base as your absolute foundation. It's the bedrock. It establishes physical safety, predictable routines, and early co-regulation. It's literally teaching a baby's primitive brain that relationships are reliable and soothing. Then, on the other side, we have the peer social launchpad. This is where we transition that secure trust into independent playground socialization, parallel work, and cooperative play. So the big takeaway here is that the adult relationship acts as the secure foundation, while the peer relationships are just the scaffolding built directly on top of it. You simply can't have the scaffolding without pouring the foundation first.
And hey, just to ground our discussion for a second, the milestones and frameworks we're covering aren't just arbitrary ideas we pulled out of thin air. They are backed by rigorous, evidence-based state standards, including the Alabama Department of Human Resources, Head Start, and the national CSEFL, which is the Center on the Social and Emotional Foundations for Early Learning. Basically, we're looking at proven approaches that have been thoroughly tested and validated.
Moving right along to Section 2, the secure adult base and nurturing that classroom anchor.
Let's explore what this adult anchor actually looks like, both physically and emotionally as a child grows. If you look at the infants tier, they show secure attachment by physically molding to the caregiver. They literally use the adult as a physical, safe base. Now, as they grow into toddlers, they still rely on that safe base, but notice how their independence is starting to bloom. They explore, right? But they check back often, making visual or physical contact just to make sure, hey, you're still there. By the time they're preschoolers, they can separate without distress to go play, they verbally express affection, and they willingly accept guidance. It's just this incredibly beautiful, natural progression of building trust.
5. Just 5. Look at that number for a second. This represents the incredible relational equity formula. Studies highlighted across those CSEFL training modules show that dedicating just 5 minutes of focused, individualized time a day can completely transform classroom relational security. Seriously, 5 minutes per day is all it takes to drastically reduce power struggles and challenging behaviors. It completely updates how the child views you as an educator.
So what do we actually do with those 5 minutes? We use a targeted strategy called banking time. Step 1, observe the child's interests closely. Step 2, spend focused one-on-one time engaging with them. Step 3, and this one is crucial, do not place demands. Don't ask testing questions and hold off on any corrections. Just be there. And finally, Step 4, allow the child to completely lead the interaction. It's a brilliant approach, honestly. By deliberately pausing our adult expectations, we're safely depositing positive connection equity into that relationship. We are literally filling up their emotional bank account so that later on, when we actually do need to place a demand, the trust is already right there waiting for us.
Which brings us to Section 3, the social play spectrum, all about building that peer launchpad. This is the stage where that secure adult base finally gives children the confidence to step out and explore peer socialization. Let's break down the peer-to-peer trajectory. For infants, play is all about being an onlooker.
Their key action? Simply tracking peers visually or reaching out to touch their clothes. Once they hit the toddler phase, they move into parallel work. Think of two kids playing side by side with identical toy trucks, but without any kind of shared goal. Finally, preschoolers reach the cooperative stage. This is the whole shebang, designing mutual play narratives, assigning roles, negotiating, and building true friendships. It's amazing to watch that evolution from isolated onlooker to a highly cooperative partner.
And of course, this is the ultimate goal, right? We want our preschool-aged kids confidently transitioning out of that isolated parallel play and moving smoothly into distinct, preferred friendships. We want to see them holding hands, working together on a shared task, and really feeling a genuine sense of belonging within their peer group.
All right, on to my absolute favorite part, Section 4, the Friendship Engineering Lab, where we move from theory into practice. Let's get into some specific, actionable strategies to solve those everyday behavioral hurdles you see in the classroom. Picture this. Scenario A, the isolated toddler. You've got a 24-month-old sitting right on the perimeter of the block area. They're watching the other children play, but they are absolutely not attempting to join in. So how do we help this child transition from just being an onlooker into someone engaging in parallel play? Here is your exact coaching action plan. First, you enter the space. Next, sit down right next to the child and hand them a single matching toy. Then you use this precise script. Look, they are building. Let's put a block right here next to theirs. What you're doing is acting as a social bridge. You are using your status as their secure base to gently lower their entry anxiety. You're scaffolding that peer interaction for them until they finally feel safe enough to do it on their own. Okay, now for scenario B, the sandbox conflict. This is classic, right? The high-stakes preschool tension point. You have two 4-year-olds pulling on the exact same plastic shovel, they're screaming, and they are entirely convinced their life depends on claiming this one item. So, how on earth do we resolve this intense struggle over a single resource?
Well, rather than just playing referee and snatching the toy away, we can diffuse the tension immediately while teaching a new skill. Step 1, drop down to their eye level. Step 2, model a star breath. That stands for smile, take a deep breath, and relax. It works wonders to de-escalate their little nervous systems. Step 3, calmly acknowledge the shared goal. Just say, you both want to scoop sand. And finally, script a solution. You can say something like, there's one shovel and 2 friends. What can we do to solve this? And then guide them to use a timer or maybe make a trade. It beautifully builds cooperative negotiation skills instead of just forcing compliance.
But beyond just reacting to hurdles, we can also be highly proactive. I want to highlight a few of these CSEFEL relationship blueprints that naturally encourage peer interaction before things go sideways. First, there's environmental engineering. Prevent that sandbox conflict entirely by providing duplicate toys or maybe use double-sided easels to naturally place kids in shared spaces. Next up, social scripts. Teach them explicit verbal phrases like, can I play too? Or can I use that when you were finished? And lastly, the super friend acknowledgement. Use really descriptive praise for peer coaching. Try saying, wow, look at how you held the bucket steady so your friend could pour the water. That was so helpful.
I'd like to wrap up our explainer today with a final provocative thought. When children feel deeply secure with adults and completely capable with their peers, the entire classroom fundamentally transforms. You suddenly move away from constant, exhausting behavior management and you step into genuine community learning. Social-emotional intelligence is built entirely on the back of healthy relationships. So take these tools, take that relational equity formula, and ask yourself, how will you engineer your environment tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me and learning with me today. Now, get out there and start building those vital connections.